Hi there. Your doctor runs your fasting glucose. It comes back at 98. Totally normal, they say. Nothing to worry about. But really, you're exhausted all the time. You can't lose weight. You're craving sugar constantly, and you feel terrible. Yeah, this is wrong. Your doctor runs your fasting glucose. It comes back at 98. Totally normal, they say. Nothing to worry about. The thing is, you're exhausted all the time. You can't lose weight. You're craving sugar constantly. You feel terrible. Here's what your doctor isn't telling you. Normal doesn't mean healthy. And by the time your blood sugar looks abnormal enough to treat something, you're already been suffering for years. Let me show you what's really happening. Hey there, I'm Wendy Humphries, certified functional nutritionist and advanced live and dry blood analysis here in Greater Sudbury, Ontario. For the last 30 years, I've been looking at blood work, first as a nurse, now as a functional practitioner. And one of the biggest problems I see is people being told their blood sugar is fine when it's anything but. Today, I'm going to break down why normal blood sugar ranges are misleading and why your numbers what your numbers are actually saying, the hidden signs of blood sugar dysfunction, and what you can do about it because it becomes diabetes before you know it, before you deserve to know the truth. Your doctor runs your fasting glucose. It comes back at 98. Totally normal, they say. Nothing to worry about. But you're exhausted all the time. You can't lose weight. Your sugar cravings are constant. They're just driving you crazy. You feel terrible. But what your doctor isn't telling you is that normal doesn't mean healthy. And by the time your blood sugar looks abnormal enough to treat, you have already been suffering for years. Let me show you what's exactly happening. Hey, I'm Wendy Humphris, certified functional nutritionist and advanced live and dry blood analysis here in Greater Sudbury, Ontario. For the last 30 years, I've been looking at blood work, first as a nurse, now as a functional practitioner. And one of the biggest problems I see with people is being told that their blood sugar is fine when it's anything but. Today, I'm going to break down why normal blood sugar ranges are misleading and what your numbers actually mean, the hidden signs of blood sugar dysfunction, and what you can do about it because before it becomes diabetes, because you deserve to know the truth. Let's start with what's happening at a typical doctor's appointment. They order a fasting glucose test. You fast overnight, go to the lab in the morning, they draw the blood, and a few days later you get the results. Your normal range is typically 70 to 90 milligrams per deciliter. So if your result is 98, your doctor says normal. If it's 95, normal. If it's 92, normal. But here's the problem. These normal ranges are based on averages from the general population. And in North America, the average person has insulin resistance, pre-diabetes, or is heading straight towards diabetes. So normal just means that you're as sick as everyone else. Let me give you the functional ranges, what I actually want to see for optimal metabolic health. Optimal fasting glucose, 75 to 85 milligrams per deciliter. When you're consistently above 90, you're already on the path towards insulin resistance and diabetes. You're not there yet, but your doctor won't diagnose you, but the damage is happening now in real time. By the time your fasting glucose hits 100, which is when your doctor will finally say pre-diabetes, you've already spent years with elevated insulin, inflammation, and cellular dysfunction. That's the problem with waiting for abnormal lab results. By the time the numbers look bad enough to treat, you've been suffering for a decade. So here's what makes even more frustrating. Fasting glucose is only part of the story. It tells you what your blood sugar is doing at one moment in time. after fasting overnight. But it doesn't tell you how your body responds to food, whether you have insulin resistance, if your pancreas is working overtime to keep glucose check, or, anything else. So let me explain what's actually happening inside the body. Stage 1, hidden insulin resistance. You feel terrible. Labs look fine. Your cells start resisting insulin. Your pancreas compensates by producing more insulin to force glucose into cells. Fasting glucose stays normal because extra insulin is keeping it in check. But you feel exhausted, hungry all the time, craving sugars, gaining weight, especially around the middle. Your doctor says fasting glucose, 92, totally normal. You're good to go. But if they tested your fasting insulin, it would be elevated, maybe 12, 15, 20. Optimal is about below 5. That high insulin is driving weight gain, inflammation, and metabolic chaos. Most doctors never test insulin. Stage 2, prediabetes. You've been suffering for years. Your pancreas can't keep up anymore. Insulin production starts to decline. Glucose starts rising. Fasting glucose creeps up, 95, 98, 102, 105. Now your doctor says prediabetes and tells you to lose weight and exercise. But the dysfunction started years ago. You've already developed insulin resistance, fatty liver, chronic inflammation, hormone imbalances. Stage 3, type 2 diabetes, the diagnosis nobody wants. Fasting glucose consistently above 126, HbA1c above 6.5%. Now you've officially become a diabetic. Your doctor prescribes medication, but the damage to your blood vessels, nerves, and organs, that's been accumulating for a decade or more. That's why waiting for abnormal labs is such a problem. So what should you be testing for to catch blood sugar dysfunction early before it becomes diabetes? Well, first of all, fasting insulin. This is the most important test that almost never gets ordered. Optimal below 5 units per mil. Concerning above 7 for insulin resistance, above 10 if your fasting insulin is elevated. But glucose looks normal. That's insulin resistance. Catch it here and you can reverse it. Hemoglobin A1C, so your HbA1c. This shows your average blood sugar over the past 3 months. Optimal, 5.3%. Concerning, 5.4 to 5.6 prediabetes. 5.7 to 6.4% diabetes. 6.5% or higher. Again, most doctors only flag it when it hits 5.7. But functionally, I want it below 5.3. Fasting glucose. So yes, this is the standard, but interpret it correctly. Optimal, 75 to 85 milligrams per deciliter. Concerning, 86 to 99 milligrams per deciliter. Prediabetes, 100 to 125 milligrams per deciliter. And diabetes, 126 plus milligrams per deciliter. If yours is 90 to 99, and your doctor says you're fine, push for other tests. Oral glucose tolerance test, so the OGTT, optional, but really revealing. This test shows how your body handles glucose load. You drink a sugary solution, then you test your blood sugar in an hour or 2. Optimal, 1 hour, below 140 milligrams per deciliter. Optimal, 2 hour is below 120 milligrams per deciliter. Many people with normal fasting glucose will spike to 180, 200, or even 220 at the 1 hour mark. This reactive hypoglycemia is another sign of insulin resistance. Triglycerides, part of a normal standard lipid panel, but high triglycerides are a marker of insulin resistance and blood sugar dysfunction. Optimal, 100 milligrams per deciliter. Concerning, 100 to 150 milligrams per deciliter. Problematic, above 150. If your triglycerides are high, your blood sugar regulation is off, even if glucose looks normal. So you don't need to wait for lab confirmation to know something's wrong. Your numbers are already telling you. Here are the signs. Energy crashes. So you're exhausted 1 or 2 hours after eating. You need caffeine or sugar to function. You hit a wall at 2 or 3 p.m. in the afternoon every day. Constant hunger and cravings. You feel hunger an hour after eating. You crave sugar, carbs, or salty foods all day long. You can't go more than 2 or 3 hours without eating. Weight gain, especially belly fat. You're gaining weight even though you're not eating more, and fat accumulates around the midsection. You can't lose weight no matter what you try. You have trouble concentrating, memory problems, mental fatigue, mood swings, and irritability. You get hungry or hangry easily, anxiety and depression, mood dependent on what you last ate. Waking up at 2 to 3 a.m. in the morning, trouble falling asleep, not feeling rested even after 8 hours. Other signs might include frequent urination, increased thirst, tingling in hands and feet, slow wound healing, and recurrent infections. If you have several of these symptoms, your blood sugar is dysregulated, regardless of what your labs are saying. And what do you need to do about it? Well, this is where it gets very, you know what you need to do. So what you actually need to do if your blood sugar is normal, but you have all these symptoms, you got to, first of all, get the right tests. Don't settle for just fasting glucose. Ask your doctor for fasting insulin, the HbA1c, the full lipid panel, including triglycerides. If they won't order them, find a functional practitioner who will. Or in some places, you can order them yourselves through direct-to-consumer labs. Step 2, stabilize your blood sugar through nutrition. So this is foundational. You need to eat in a way that supports stable blood sugar, not spikes and crashes. Key principles when it comes to this: always pair carbs with protein and fat. Prioritize the protein with every meal. Aim for 25 to 30 grams. You're going to start each meal with a couple of mouthfuls of protein as well too. Include fiber-rich vegetables. Minimize processed carbs and sugars, and if you do have them at the end of the meal. Don't skip meals, especially breakfast. But there's something to be said for intermittent fasting as well too, but make sure that it's a proper fast. Don't have a coffee with something first thing in the morning because that'll break your fast. If you have a black coffee, then fine. But make it a real true fast and making sure that you're drinking all the water. Eating consistently, and don't go more than 4 or 5 hours without food during the day. So looking at it from a metabolic balance perspective, as a metabolic coach, eating consistently is going to be really important. You do want to have that 4 or 5 hour window, but don't eat in between. You're going to give the body a chance to have some digestive rest and then have your meal after that. Address insulin resistance. So if you have insulin resistance and you need to restore insulin sensitivity, this means strength training to build muscle. Muscle is insulin sensitive tissue. So really get into a new routine. My postmenopausal or menopausal women, you're really going to be very strategic about it, going slow, doing resistance training and strength training, and just walking. No heavy cardio work, because this is where our bodies are a little bit more gentler, but you still need to be able to work those muscles. Walking after meals to lower blood sugar spikes. Managing stress. So cortisol drives up insulin resistance. So tell me, do you know anybody that's not stressed these days? I don't know anybody. So really understanding that, because of that everybody is having issues with insulin resistance. Improving sleep. So I tell you, if not 75% of people that come into my office are sleep deprived, either through the fact that they run businesses or they just can't sleep due to whatever is going on in their lives. Everybody has their own kind of scenario about why they can't sleep, but poor sleep worsens insulin resistance. So really looking at sleep hygiene is going to be very important, and understanding how that works with you with routine. So even having a regular routine to get to bed every night is a very first step that you want to start with a lot of that. Have a regular bed routine, say 9, 10, or 11 o'clock, but have it the same all the time. Intermittent fasting for some people, not everyone, and that we just talked about a little bit. So step 4, you're going to correct nutrient deficiencies. So blood sugar regulation requires specific nutrients. So understanding that chromium is important for insulin to work effectively. Magnesium is involved in glucose metabolism. B vitamins, especially B1 and B6, are going to be extremely important. Vitamin D affects insulin sensitivity. So this really talks to a lot of my northern um, neighbors who are potentially deficient in vitamin D simply just because of where we live. So look at potentially getting those numbers, but I can, safely say that you are probably not getting enough vitamin D, so you're going to want to add that, especially in the winter time. Looking at omega-3 and fatty acids because they help to reduce inflammation. Most people with blood sugar dysfunction and are deficient in several of these. So all of these components, all these micronutrients are very, very important to be able to have the proper metabolism working to be able to restore blood sugar balance. So also working with somebody that understands these functional ranges. So you need a practitioner who won't wait for you to have that diabetic picture to be intervening. Someone who interprets labs functionally, like myself, but not conventionally. Someone who understands the normal does not mean optimal. So when it comes to what I do, this is exactly what I do with my clients on the Metabolic Balance program. We start with comprehensive blood work. This is set up by doctors, not myself, and it goes through 30 different lab markers, not just the basics, but the full picture of what's happening metabolically. Then I create a personalized nutrition plan based around that blood chemistry, your specific blood chemistry. This is not generic advice, not a one size fits all meal plan protocol that is specifically designed to restore your insulin sensitivity, your specific blood sugar balancing, and address your metabolic blocks. I also use live blood analysis to see what's happening at a cellular level. So insulin resistance, inflammation, and cellular dysfunction show up in live blood years before conventional labs flag these problems. So this is for people that if you're in the local Grady or Sudbury area, offer comprehensive metabolic assessments that include blood work analysis and live blood analysis. The link is going to be down below in the description. But if you're anywhere in Canada, I work virtually through the metabolic balance coaching and setting up lab work with your own local labs as well as all over Canada. So if you want to start with just stabilizing your blood sugar, I have a free blood sugar balance breakthrough guide that walks you through the exact steps that we talked about earlier. And again, link is down below. But don't wait until your labs look abnormal enough to treat. Don't let it get to that point. It's always easier to prevent than it is to cure. Your body is telling you now, like right now, that something is wrong, and listening to it is imperative. That simple understanding of hearing and questioning what all these little symptoms mean is going to be your saving grace when it comes to longevity and metabolic health and keeping the lifestyle that you're accustomed to now well into our 80s and 90s. Normal is not the same as healthy, and you don't have to settle for suffering while waiting for a diagnosis. You can address blood sugar dysfunction right now before it becomes prediabetes, before it becomes diabetes, before the damage is irreversible. And I say that loosely because there's a lot of practitioners out there, doctors included, that are of the frame of mind that diabetes can be reversed. So do your research with that, see what you can do with that. It is not easy to reverse it, mind you. But I believe it can be done, and I've seen the anecdotal information with regards to it, but it takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of consistent and repetitive eating patterns. It's not one of these things that can be done with somebody that falls off the wagon after 3 weeks because it just reverts back to where you began, and it's going to be more harmful for the body than anything else. But if any of this information was helpful, hit subscribe. I'm posting about twice a week with practical science-based content for your metabolic health. And I just want to say thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. And one thing I'd really like you to remember is to be kind to everyone, but especially yourself. I'll see you.